Stuka Joe here. Today we'll be taking a look at this game, Iron Squad. We'll take a look at the game's components, victory conditions, and some examples of play. So, let's get this thing rolling. Iron Squad is a two-player tactical game where each player controls a squad of American or German soldiers in northern France during World War II. Each playing piece represents one soldier with his characteristics and special abilities. The game lasts up to 12 rounds, and each round represents 2 hours of real time. The game includes the following components: 1 mounted map board, 36 game board tiles, 1 counter sheet, 14 unit cards, 10 mission cards, 1 combat results table, 1 victory point tracker, 1 deck of 24 explore cards, 1 weather card, 1 rulebook, and 4 dice. At the beginning of the game, each player randomly and secretly draws 1 card from their respective mission card deck. Each card will direct the player to capture a specific mission objective hex and also eliminate certain enemy units. If a player successfully completes his side's mission, he wins the game. Otherwise, at the end of round 12, the player with the most victory points wins the game. Victory points are awarded for opening a terrain tile, exploring a building, entering any building that is a mission objective, bringing an enemy to 1 health point left, and eliminating an enemy unit. First, each of the players chooses a side. The American player places his units in the north, and the German player places his units in the south. Both players have a deck of 5 mission cards. These cards are shuffled, and each player draws 1 card from their mission deck. The mission card is kept secret, and the rest of the cards go back in the box. Depending on the mission, each player chooses now 5 of 7 units that they will use during the game. This choice is kept secret from the other player, and the player places his unit cards face down on the table. The remaining 2 units will not be used, and you have to select always the captain among your 5 units. And the possible units are the machine gunner, the sniper, the medic, the engineer, the grenade thrower, the rifleman, and of course, the captain. Now we place the terrain tiles on the map. There are 36 empty locations on the map marked with a number from 1 to 6. And there are 36 tiles also numbered from 1 to 6. Some of these tiles are placed randomly at the beginning of the game, and some will appear and be revealed during the course of the game. We start by placing on the board the tiles marked 1 and 6. These will go on the northern edge of the map, and these on the southern edge of the map. After shuffling the tiles, we place each in the space marked 1, and we place them in this upright position, so the number corresponds to the number that is depicted on the board. And we do the same with the tiles marked 6 but on the southern edge of the map board. Now we flip each of the tiles, and there must be 3 objectives in each of these areas 1 and 6. No objective there. We see the first objective, the turret. No objective here. None here. And here we see another objective, the dock. And finally, a third objective, the lighthouse. Now we flip the number 6 tiles, and we have an objective, the radar. No objective here. None here. The supply depot. No objective. And the last number 6 tile shows the barn house. Next, we place the tiles in groups 2 and 5. Each of these groups has 2 objective tiles. And notice that the areas of placement have a small number. We have to roll 1d8, and on a 1 to 7, we place the objective tiles in the indicated space. So we start with the tiles with the number 2. Notice that the area here, number 1 area, is where the Americans will set up. The number 2 tiles, the objectives, are set up by the German player. And there's 2 with objectives. So here we see the Chateau. German player rolls a die. The result is a 7. So the German player places the tile in a way convenient for him and places it, for example, as so. The other tile that has an objective is this one that shows the church. German player rolls a die. The roll is a 1. So he places the tile here in its 1 space. Now the German player places the remaining tiles in the remaining spaces and does so, orienting them as he wishes. Now the American player places the objectives in group 5. This one has the airport. He rolls 1d8, and it is a 5, and places it as so. For the remaining tile with an objective, it is the laboratory, and the roll is also a 5. That slot is taken, and the roll here is a 4, and places the tile like so. Now the American player places the remaining group 5 tiles, orienting them as he wishes in the available spaces for that group. The tiles for the remaining groups, that is 3 and 4, are shuffled, and each group of tiles is placed next to the board. These tiles will be placed on the board and revealed when a unit enters the shadowed area on the board corresponding to their number. Each player now writes the initial positions for each of his units on the mini-map for the Germans here to the south of the road. For example, the S here for sniper, the G for grenade thrower, the R for rifleman, the M for the medic, and the C for the captain. After both players have written down their positions on the mini-map, now they place their units on the board. Continuing with our example for the Germans placed a sniper, and the sniper, being a triangular piece, has to always point to a hex vertex. Here we see the grenade thrower, the rifleman, the medic, and finally, the captain. And the American player has also done the same on his side of the board. Each player places the unit cards for the units that he selected to the side of the board and takes a marker and places it in the health track in the in-order box for each of his units. We place the victory point tracker on the board. The blue cube will be the Americans, the red, the Germans. Now we roll for the initial turn. We roll 1d12. It's a 3, so it's the third box from top to bottom. That's the one that corresponds to 0 for hours, and we place the start marker there. And finally, we roll for initial weather. We roll 1d12. In this example, the roll is a 6, clear weather. After setting up the game, shadowed spaces 3 and 4 will remain as so, blank, and it is during the game that tiles are placed in these shadowed areas. To place a tile in these areas, the player must have or move a unit adjacent to the shadowed area and spend a movement point. The player selects the topmost face-down tile from the side of the board, and he can place it on the shadowed area in any configuration that he wants. And the unit can continue moving if it has more movement points left. Each unit in the game has a unit card. This is the American sniper card, and it contains the stats of the unit. This unit has the sniper rifle as its weapon with a range of 4 hexes and 15 movement points. All units have a starting accuracy of 35. This is a base number that is used to resolve fire combat. And each unit also has a special ability specified on its card. And finally, there's the health track, where we keep the status of the unit's health, and they always start in good order. And from there, if they sustain fire, they degrade to shaken, lightly wounded, heavily wounded, immobilized, and finally killed in action. When a unit is activated, it can move, fire, and move again if it has sufficient movement points, or it can fire, and after firing, it can move. Let's take a look at an example of play. Here, a German rifleman is activated. He has a health of 4 and 13 movement points. And he's targeting an American captain in a forest hex 4 hexes away. The captain is also shaken. The German starts his move by entering an open terrain space for 3 movement points and spends 4 more to enter a forest space 2 hexes away from the American captain. From here, he will take his shot. He starts with an accuracy of 35. Notice that we take now into consideration the terrain of the target hex. The captain is in a forest hex, and the weapon is a rifle. So we deduct 10 from the accuracy, so now we're at 25. There's no change in elevation, so elevation does not play a factor. The rifleman is shaken, and the distance to target is 2 hexes. Cross-reference with the weapon is a -6, so now we're at 19, and the rifleman's health is 4, so we deduct 3 more points. Now we're at 16. So now we roll a die. The roll is a 4, and we add the number there, 13 to 16, for a total of 29, and we locate that result on the result table. That is the 26 to 38.5 row. The result is that the defending captain suffers 1 health point loss. So now his health goes from shaken to lightly wounded. And the German player, having spent 7 movement points, still has 6 left and spends 4 to enter the forest hex adjacent to the forest hex from which he took the shot. Let's take a look at each of the unit's special abilities, and we begin with the captain. The captain has a special ability of recovering the health condition of any unit that is in his hex or adjacent from 4 shaken to 5. But to use this special ability, it has to be the first action the captain takes during his activation. In this example, an American rifleman is adjacent to his captain. the captain is activated, and the rifleman has his health at level 4, shaken. So the captain uses his special ability to increase the rifleman's health from 4 to 5. And the captain continues his activation by moving in the direction shown here. The engineer has a special ability of clearing a path for his teammates to go through at a cost of 3 movement points per hex during that round. Here we see the engineer unit with 13 movement points. It enters a forest hex, paying the regular cost 4 movement points, a second forest hex, paying 4 more additional movement points, and ending his move in a clear terrain hex, which cost 3. Now the German rifleman moves into clear terrain for 3 and pays only 3 for each of the forest hexes traversed by the engineer. And the same goes with the grenade thrower, as shown here. The grenade thrower has a special ability. He causes damage to all units on the same hex as the target hex, and units other than the target unit get a minus 13 modifier. And also adjacent hexes, units there receive a minus 20 modifier. Let's take a look at an example here. The American grenade thrower lobs a grenade 2 hexes away to the German units that are in a forest hex. He picks the target unit, and that will be the rifleman. So we check the accuracy modifiers and notice that the American unit has a starting accuracy of 35. The defending unit is in a forest hex. We subtract 9, so we are at 26. There's no elevation change, so no modification for elevation. But the distance is 2 hexes, so we apply a minus 10 modifier, so now we're down to 16. The health of the firing unit, the grenade thrower, is 5, so that has no effect. Notice there's no 5 column, but 4 is no effect. So we are at a total of 16, and now we roll a die for a final modifier. The roll is a 5, and we add 26 for a total of 42. We locate the 42 in the result table. That falls in the 39 to 51.5 row. The defending unit loses a health point and 4 movement points from its next move. So the German rifleman goes from 5 for his health. He goes down to shaken to 4. And now we have to resolve the possible effect on the German engineer unit in the target hex. And the special ability calls for a modification of minus 13 to the final result. Final result was a 42. Minus 13 is 29. That falls into 26 to 38.5 row. And that is the loss of 1 health point. So the engineer who was shaken is now lightly wounded. But we also have to resolve the possible effect on the adjacent American rifleman in the forest hex. And the special ability there calls for a modification of minus 20 to the final result. The final result was a 42 minus 20 is 22, and that falls in the 13 to 25.5 row, and that is no effect. The machine gunner's special ability is that he prevents the enemy units from advancing into his 2 frontal hexes. The machine gunner is one of those units that has a triangular shape, and you always point the machine gunner to a hex vertex, and this points to the 2 frontal hexes of that unit. In this case, the machine gunner prevents the American units from entering the 2 frontal hexes shown here. The medic has the special ability of recovering the health of a friendly unit by 2 health points, and that unit has to be adjacent or in the same hex as the medic. Here, the medic moves 2 hexes through the forest adjacent to an American rifleman who is heavily wounded. The medic now applies his special ability and increases the health of the rifleman to shaken. And the medic still has enough movement points to move to the adjacent forest hex. The rifleman's special ability is that if a terrain costs more than 4 movement points to enter, he only pays 4 movement points maximum. Hills cost 5 movement points to enter, so in this case, the rifleman pays 4 to enter this first hill, plus 4 for the second hill hex, and 4 for the third, for a total of 12 of his 13 movement points. Snipers have a special ability. They can conduct opportunity attacks when an enemy unit enters their defensive area, and the sniper has to have the unit in its line of sight. Here we see a sniper and his defensive area. The hexes with red X's are those for which the sniper does not have a line of sight. Those with check marks are hexes within the sniper's line of sight. In this example, we see the German unit outside the sniper's 4-hex defensive area. It moves into the hills hex, which is still outside the defensive area. Now it moves into a forest hex, which is within 4 hexes of the sniper and in its defensive area. The sniper has to decide whether to take the shot now. If not, he risks that the German unit continue moving, like here, closer to the sniper, but outside his line of sight, and then the sniper would be unable to fire the opportunity shot. In this game, there are 24 building hexes, and they can be explored. Each explored building hex provides 1 victory point. Here we see an American engineer. He declares that he wants to explore the adjacent building, so he pays the cost of the terrain 3 plus 1 to explore the building for a total of 4. And the American player draws the top card from the explored card deck. 20 of the 24 cards are going to show an empty building, so that means that there's no one in the building, and the searching player gains 1 victory point. But there will be occasions that the player will draw a card that will have a unit from his side, like for example here, a resistance unit. In that case, we immediately place the unit in the hex, and as it happened here, the American player can use that resistance unit as one of his own. But in other instances, the player may draw a card from the other side, like this collaborator. We place the collaborator marker on the hex, and that collaborator unit immediately attacks the searching American unit, and you keep track of the collaborator's health on his card. This is Iron Squad, a game to be published by Princeps Games through an upcoming Kickstarter campaign, and a link to the campaign is in the description below. I hope that this video has given you a good idea of the flow of the game and what the game has to offer. This is Stuka Joe, signing off for now. Thanks for watching.